Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Davos for those of you who are first-timers here at our little conference moderation sessions. It's a delight to be here. My name is Jane Witherspoon. I'm the managing editor for Euronews for the Middle East, Central Asia and South Caucasus region, so huge region. And again, it is my absolute delight to be here at the Qatar Pavilion at Davos. We've got a wonderful session ready for you. You know, Qatar has quietly built one of the most resilient and internationally connected banking ecosystems in the world, as many of you know, and many of you have been part of. So today we will be exploring how Qatar banks are not only supporting domestic growth, but actively shaping new pathways for global capital through innovation, digital transformation, and capital markets leaderships. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panelists and give them each the opportunity to tell you very quickly a little bit who they are, what they do, and who they represent. So to my left, Abdullah Mubarak, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abdullah Al Khalifa. I'm the Group CEO of Qatar National Bank.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Basil Gamal. I am the Group CEO of Qatar Islamic Bank, UIB.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Moss, and I am the Group CEO of Commercial Bank of Qatar.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Abdurrahman bin Fahad Al Thani. I'm the Group CEO of Doha Bank.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sheikh Abdul Rahman, I'm going to start with you because you would like to open this discussion, introducing us to Qatar, you know, about the Qatar rating and how it has also helped the market.
I think, thank you, first of all, for you to having us here. And I would like to thank also the colleagues from other CEO banks. Today, I will start about the credit of Qatar is one of the highest credit agents rating in the regions in the Gulf. This is helping a lot to the country. So Qatar have issued a lot of bond and sukuk. We are the lowest in the market because of the rating. Secondly, I would love to also say about the LNG. We have the highest production in the region, in the world, I mean. Today it's 77 ton, and it's going to be like around 142 by 2030, which help Qatar also to be more attractive for the investment in the future, and giving Qatar also more sustainability. As well, one more point I would love to add is the regulation in Qatar, helping especially for the companies. They allowed all investors to open their different company without to be owned by international, which is useful. As well in the banking sector, our regulation allowed us to open accounts immediately for the foreign, and this help Qatar for future.
Thank you so much. Mr. Khalifa, QNB is one of the most internationally connected banks in the region. How does your global footprint strengthen Qatar's position as a trusted gateway for international capital?
Thank you so much for the question. QNB today is in more than 30 countries in 3 continents. Our role today is a connector. We see ourselves as the financial ambassador of the state of Qatar. We build relationships, commercial relationships. And today, being based in a country with very strong fundamentals, we promote the opportunities that we see in the local market. Today, Qatar, one of its main pillars is diversification from oil and gas. So there are many opportunities that we see domestically that we're promoting to international investors. And being a leading bank in the region makes us a first choice for clients to build relationships. We know Qatar, we know the GCC and the bigger Middle East. And that's the big advantage that we bring. We know how business is being conducted. We can guide and support international investors to do their investments locally. And we facilitate also their investment. And the good thing that we have in Qatar today is Qatar is offering partnership. Qatar is willing to invest with international investments coming to the country. And in different areas, be it technology, be it logistics, be it healthcare, be it education. So the country has so many opportunities to offer, and we promote those kind of opportunities.
Thank you. This is a good opportunity for me to introduce the new boy on the block, if you don't mind me calling you that, sir. Mr. Stephen Moss, you're new to Doha. How are you finding it?
Yeah, 5.5 months in. I've had the privilege to live and work in some amazing places in the world. I spent 14 years in Hong Kong. I previously worked in the UAE, and as I say, I've been in Doha for 5.5 months, and it's treating me very well. It's an amazingly easy place to live, especially this time of year. And from the colleagues on the stage to the regulator, everybody has been amazingly welcoming. And we'll talk a little bit about this later in terms of the business environment generally, but a fantastic 5.5 months.
Great.
Lots of exciting things to do. One of my staff members said to me the other day, it feels like you've been here forever. I wasn't quite sure how to take that, but
positive, yes?
I think it was positive, but very happy.
Thank you. Well, building on from what Mr. Khalifa was just saying, in terms of international investment, what is the Qatar opportunity in your view for international investors? Why is it so attractive?
So, I mean, this is very much an outside-in view because I've been in Qatar for 5.5 months, so with a little bit of local context. For me, international investors look at three major things. One, predictability, which is clearly a word I'm sure that's going to be spoken about a lot this week, but predictability, certainty of policy to start off with, and the way that regulation works. So Qatar in 2008 published its Qatar National Vision. Since then, it's had 3 national development strategies, and it's now on its 3rd for 24 to 26, clearly setting out the plan, how it's going. So if you read the Qatar National Vision, the 3rd version that was published a couple of years ago, it clearly sets out, honestly, where the country is against its targets, what it needs to do between now and 2030. So, and it's only 36 pages, so for me as the new boy, it's a nice read. So certainty of policy. From a regulatory perspective, there's a very strong banking system from the capitalization and from a regulation perspective, and a very accommodating, facilitating regulation. It's not, clearly if you do something wrong from a supervisory perspective, you're in trouble, but it reminds me of my time in Hong Kong and when I was in Asia, the MAS, CHKMA, very pragmatic regulator that you can go and talk to and will listen and will help. And as I say, if you get something wrong, clearly from a supervisory perspective, you'll be in trouble, but amazingly accommodating. That's certainty. From a business environment perspective, people clearly look for what's the business environment like, what's the ease of business. From an outside-in perspective, there's a survey, the IMD Business Survey, IMD Business School published a survey, World Competitiveness, and in 2025 they published the results, and Qatar was 9th versus 5 years ago it was 17th. So outside-in view, good competitive environment for doing business. And then Invest Qatar, we're clearly in the Invest Qatar pavilion. Having worked all around the world, people approach me saying, look, what do you think of Qatar? Should we base our business there? So I've contacted Invest Qatar a couple of times saying, look, I've got visitors coming. And within one night, it was like late at night, I WhatsApped, clearly, with no business details in it, but I messaged somebody in Invest Qatar and said, I've got this person coming, can you help? And immediately came back, put me in touch with somebody who I put in touch with this potential party coming to the country. So very, very accommodating, welcoming, and action-orientated. And finally, opportunity. So third thing's opportunity. So as Rahman said, you've got a country which is, just to add to the numbers, which is increasing its LNG output by 85% between now and the end of 2030. That will make Qatar have a 25% share of LNG globally, just behind the US by 2030. It will mean from a GDP perspective, you've got 2 years, the only GCC country which will have 2 years of increased GDP this year and next year. The World Bank says 5.4, next year 7%. So, a vibrant, growing economy which provides opportunity. That cascades down petrochemicals, other sectors. And then finally, nice projects like Smaisma, which you may not have heard of, which is a development, a integrated resort, which is $20 billion project. Similarly, you've got the Saudi Qatar railway, which was announced recently, which 785 kilometers, built in 6 years, 2 hours. So you've got the opportunity. So as I say, predictability, ease of doing business, and the opportunity. And then from a banking perspective, banks at the end of the day are proxies of the economies in which they sit. So from all of our perspective, if you have a vibrant economy which is growing, that's great for the banking system.
Thank you, Bassel. I'm going to bring you in here because, and touching on some of the points that have just been made, how do the economic stability, regulatory clarity that we've heard about, and the national planning reduce the risk for investors deploying capital in Qatar?
Looking at, first of all, I would like to actually thank Qatar Invest Central Bank for the invitation, your good self for having me. Going back to your question, as Stephen was mentioning, predictability and stability are critical. If we look at Qatar credentials, I think, mashallah, it ticks all the boxes in terms of stability, regulatory framework that is clear, legislative efficiency. As you can see, the establishment of the Court of Investment recently, and I might say actually that 98% of any, I would say, disputes were resolved in the same year in 2025. That gives at least some confidence for investors that there is a legislative system in place to resolve any dispute. In addition to that, we have a strong GDP, a very decent rating, excellent rating. We have stable fiscal surpluses year on year. We have, mashallah, foreign reserves that would cover probably $70 to $72 billion now, which covers almost 24 months of imports versus an average globally of 3 to 6 months. So there is stability, and the business environment sits well with the national vision and the national priorities as well. That is something that would be very appealing to foreign investors, to be able to align their investments and their vision and horizon with the national priorities. I think that ticks the boxes for investors looking to invest in Qatar, in addition to what Abdullah, Stephen, and Sheikh Abdurrahman have mentioned already. I think confidence in doing business is critical, and that's something actually for the banking sector in general, working as an intermediate between investor and business side of things. There is a regulatory clarity. There is actually a dialogue between the regulator and banks. There is always consultation from the regulator with the banks in terms of what kind of regulations and if it would help the business side of things or not. So I think all those factors add value to doing business in Qatar.
You mentioned there the kind of stability, the regularity, clarity. In terms of operational resilience, how important is that at every aspect of the business?
I think that sits well with the central bank. Look at it this way. Qatar has, or the banking sector in Qatar, has withstood real-life shocks, not testing. We've seen many shocks in the past few years that the banks in Qatar, under the supervision of the regulator and the Qatar Central Bank, has withstood all those shocks in a resilient way. Qatar Central Bank actually makes it mandatory for banks as well to be resilient in terms of business continuity, in terms of disaster recovery, in terms of ability to do business under stress situation, whether it's liquidity and others. And liquidity, I think, is the most critical one. We've seen that in the past. And I'm happy to say that QCB oversight, the Qatar Central Bank oversight of these matters, has helped banks as well to develop their digital transformation, cybersecurity, and information security. All those are important for investors to be able to have seamless kind of transacting, whether in or out. We have capital and profit repatriation that's easily accommodated. So I think all that adds to the resilience of the banking sector under the supervision of the central bank.
Thank you. Sheikh Abdul Rahman, what emerging digital frontiers will shape Doha Bank's next phase of transformation?
I think it's a very important topic that you raised related to the transformation of digital. I think everyone is working on it in Qatar. It's part of our mandate. When I took over the bank 2 years ago, was guided by central bank to put this in mandate and to follow their strategy. And the third strategy, they announced it 2-3 years ago. It is also, we did a 360 transformation inside the bank to ensure that we are aligned with the market, especially in the app. And one more point that I want to raise on our app, I think every bank here, we implement Fawran, which is also an excellent, I will say, digital payment internally in Qatar, very secured, very success with the number of customer use it previously. And I think today our banks are looking more into the AI. We are trying to implement it in the compliance risk as well to ensure this is also aligned with the business and the business future. We are carefully a little bit in selecting the right partner for it, for the future of the bank, to ensure that we did the right choice and the right mandate that we promised our I will say the bank internally, the board or the regulator as well to do it the right way.
Thank you, Stephen. This is something that Commercial Bank are very hot on in terms of innovation and AI and embracing it to make banking in Qatar more efficient. Can you elaborate on what
Sure.
you're seeing?
I can and can't take for credit for much of this, clearly 5.5 months in, but when I joined, I learnt surprisingly that my now colleagues had purchased NVIDIA chips back in 2022. We purchased again last year the H200 NVIDIA chips, which is really surprising because not many banks around the world have these. Usually it's cloud providers. So that enabled the bank to experiment over the last 3 years, 4 years, and then we're using the old chips now in a test environment and the new ones in production. For things like, credit card decisioning, credit card limits, we're using it for document processing. So we have this optical readers, that's basically super high-end scanners that do character recognition, and we've overlaid large language models on the scanners to be able to do for simple document processing, so passports, ID when you open an account, or corporate registration documents. These scanners can read them, process them using the AI very quickly without any human intervention. So the accuracy rate is 99.9%. So time super quick, and efficiency very quick. For non-standard documents, these scanners and the AI on top can process documents in the same time as humans, sorry, to the same efficiency as humans, but clearly much quicker. And then finally, as Abdul Rahman said, that AI lends itself to, when you have massive amounts of data, transactions, AI lends itself in particular, well to transaction monitoring, anti-money laundering, so checks. You can use neural networks to see if there are any patterns and transactions that you need to screen. So yeah, we're well positioned, and I think the market, there's AI. There was an AI regulation, AI document that came out from the QCB in 2024, and we will migrate, I think, along with the industry to the cloud. So cloud is coming onshore. Like most regulators around the world, you can't take client data offshore. So I'm sure with my colleagues, will be migrating away from our on-premise chips to local cloud providers, which will give us even more compute to do even more exciting things. So, and this is not just us. If you read my colleagues, my peers' annual reports, you'll see lots of references to AI as well.
Basil, I think you're eager to interject here.
Yes, actually, I agree with what Stephen was saying, but for banks in general, one of the key, I would say, KPIs in the efficiency ratios are the cost-to-income ratio, for example. Qatar banking sector has an average of between 22 to 25%, when the global average is above sometimes 60%. The regional average is above 30+%. That demonstrates the efficiency at the operational level of doing business in Qatar. I will not talk about QIB, and it's way below that. We're at 16.5%, which is very efficient. We're almost not paying staff salaries to reach that level. But in general, that's one of the KPIs that people would be looking at to test efficiency in the banking sector in Qatar.
Thank you. Mr. Khalifa, we're going to move from the kind of AI, the buzzwords of AI, and we're going to bring in sustainability here. Tell us about the role of QNB's in terms of sustainable finance and attracting that international investment. What are your priorities?
First of all, if I look at the state of Qatar, I think it's positioning itself as the leader of sustainable finance on the region. Financial sector have been aligning the reforms with the national vision. ESG today is not a choice. It's a requirement. The regulator, our regulator, Qatar Central Bank, have published the ESG guidelines, which banks have to follow. Our international investors are demanding more progress on the same direction. In QNB, we have embedded all the ESG criteria in our own strategy. So we have developed a full framework that today caters for sustainable finance. We have been one of the highly rated financial institutions in the region for sustainability. We have built around $10 billion portfolio today of green financing. We have issued, we're the first bank to issue the first green and the largest issuance in Qatar. We have focused on introducing sustainable financing products, which we have around 39 different products. We also encourage our clients to adopt the ESG criteria into their own investments or projects, where we give or offer a preferential terms for those who comply. So we are going in the same direction where the country is. And that have made it, or that have been perceived very positive from our international clients. A lot of international investors are coming to the country because of the compliance that we have today with the sustainable finance standards. It is an enabler for investment into the country.
Stephen, I saw you nodding your head there. You know, when we talk about ESG goals, how important is it for you guys to make sure that this is actually actionable? It's not just hot air, you know, we're going to do this. Sure. It has to be implemented, yes? I
mean, echoing Abdullah, it's not a choice. And I start using phraseology I used at the beginning in terms of policy, country-level policy, opportunity. From a country perspective, it's in the third national development strategy. Clearly, there's an innovation pillar that talks about agriculture, clean tech. The country itself has targeted investment in a 25% emissions reduction by 2030, compared to where it would otherwise have been through investments in green hydrogen, clean tech, etc. So it's not a choice, as Mr. Abdullah said. And all of the banks are basic. I mean, we did a green bond, a 225 million Swiss franc green bond in 2024, and we're mandated clearly under the why we raised the money to actually invest it accordingly in green initiatives. So not a choice, and it's embedded.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Basil, what makes Qatar's Islamic banking framework more attractive to international investors compared with other Islamic financial centers?
I think what we talked about covers a big portion of that. Islamic banking is part of the banking sector in Qatar. Islamic banks or the Islamic banking balance sheet or assets represent around 28 to 30% of the financial sector. balance sheet. There is, I would say, a correlation between Islamic banking and ESG from one side, in terms of ethical banking, in terms of transparency when it comes to financing or when it comes to actually funding our balance sheets. There is clarity in terms of the regulations with regards to Islamic banking. There is, I would say, a legal framework that covers Islamic banking finance, and it's not as understandable in other jurisdictions as it is in Qatar, which makes it more appealing for international investors who would like to invest in Sharia-compliant assets to be available or to be present in Qatar in general. That all adds to the attractiveness of Qatar as a destination and for the Islamic finance in particular in Qatar. As I mentioned, stability, clarity are key for any foreign investor. Islamic banking actually allows that. It's not just Islamic banking is, people used to say Islamic banking is complicated and so forth. It is not. It is banking that goes Sharia compliant at the end of the day, with much more clarity and transparency versus conventional banks. That's what makes it appealing for a big part of the population in general.
Thank you. Sheikh Abdulrahman, Doha Bank has been particularly active in capital markets innovation. So I'm going to bring the conversation back to that innovation. Can you share what you have achieved recently and how this supports Qatar's broader financial market development?
Yes. Before that, I would love to continue.
Of course, absolutely. Please do.
I think I totally agree with Abdullah Al-Khalifa and other colleagues that ESG is a mandate of the country 2030, as well as a mandate after putting the policy 3 years or 5 years ago from central bank. It became also a mandate internally for the banking sector. It is very important for us to continue and to implement it correctly. Going back to the questions, this also align with the initiatives that came. I will make a small joke that when this central bank was asking the banking sector to issue the bonds or the sukuk, green sukuk or normal by Qatar Riyal, we were like complaining between each other.
I wasn't here, to be clear.
So I wasn't in that conversation,
but I took a permission from Basel to say it here before. So we were like complaining. It might, because by Qatar Riyal in our stock exchange, it was like something new for Qatar. But I'll be very honest. We issued the first green bond in Qatar Riyal, last week. We find out it went oversubscribed by twice, so 500 million Qatar Riyal went up to 1 billion from foreign investors and local, and this gave us like a success story, which we all made a mistake, or we thought it's not gonna be success. We will give this credit to central bank who push us to do it, and also today we're thinking to raise this amount because the order become double, and we think it's something that we should continue. And as well, last quarter we were like the first bank, or the second maybe after Mr. Abdullah. I think we issued a $100 million $50 bond in digital. So it was something new for us as well.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask the gentlemen all one final question from myself. So I'd like you all to start thinking about some questions from the audience, because we will be putting some microphones out and inviting you to participate in this conversation. That's why we're here. Great to see a full house, by the way. So thank you so much for being here. So my question, I'll start this end. So Mr. Abdullah, from your vantage point, what is the single most advantage Qatar's banking sector offers global investors over other financial hubs? Why do we do it best?
I think we value relationship. We have reliability on the financial sector. We believe in a long-term relationship, a relationship that is mutually beneficial and helpful to both sides. So it's a kind of long-term commitment that we have demonstrated before, and we will continue to demonstrate following the steps of the state. We have gone through a number of crises over the last decade or so, and we proved resilience. We proved commitment to our clients. Even in the most difficult times, we did not stop supporting the relationship customers. And I think that was perceived very highly by our clients, and we will continue doing the same. So reliability, I think, will be the main distinguish that the banking sector has in Qatar.
Thank you. Bassel.
I think adding to Abdullah's comment there, I think the banking sector or most banks are consumer-centric in terms of we develop and innovate in order to satisfy our clients. At the end of the day, we're not doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it for the relationship. It's a partnership rather than just a number or customer number. No, it's more than that. It is personal. It is a partnership at the end of the day. We support our clients in the good days and the bad. And I think that the innovation and the digital transformation that the banks have gone through has enabled it to prove resilient in the hard times as well as the good times. And there is, I would say, clarity in regulations that helps the banks help their clients within the regulatory framework. I think that's important as well.
Thank you. Stephen.
Well, clearly I worked for 33 years in another organization at either head office level, regional level. So it's a real privilege for me to work in a country, single country, in a bank that has a great history and heritage, 51 years, and is very deep in the country. And that, in my first 5.5 months, has shown me exactly what Mr. Abdullah and Bassel has said, great relationships. And relationships stand the test of time. So I've seen some wonderful relationships in the country and great affinity towards the organization over the last 5.5 months. And that's been it's been really, really nice to see. People want the bank to be successful, and they want the bank, and this is the whole banking industry, not just us, but it's the value of relationships, I think, is key. And as I say, echoing the comments, people remember the banks when you stand by your clients during tough times. So clearly, we have stood by our clients through tough times, and they remember that from my first 5.5 months in. So clearly, I've got to make sure they continue to feel like that.
Thank you.
We hope so.
We hope so. Abdul Rahman.
I agree with all of what they said, but also trust, confidence, thinking outside the box, putting more products, giving them better service, continue serving them, and be more initiatives, putting the AI implemented correctly in the bank. This is what the client look for, future bank.
Okay. Yes.
Just a small addition, taking the advantage of His Excellency the Governor being here. The second pillar on the financial strategy of the central bank is the market development. So it promotes bank to be able to do more, whether domestically or outside Qatar. But thank you so much for all the support.
So, unfortunately, we don't have much time left, so we're not actually going to throw questions to the floor. I'm so sorry, but I do have one final one because we can be very quick, and then, unfortunately, we do have to wrap for the next session. But I would like to ask, again, each of you quickly, if you had a crystal ball and could go back to the beginning of your careers and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that have been?
Go into QMB.
Bassel.
Going back to QIB. I think actually I probably wouldn't do anything different. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Really refreshing and nice. Stephen.
So it took a long time for me to learn that actually it's a lot easier being yourself. So just be authentically you. It's a lot easier to stand on stage and do this stuff than trying to be something that you think other people want you to be. So it took me a long time to learn that. That's something I wish I'd known a lot earlier, to be very frank.
Great insights. Sheikh Abdul Rahman.
Continue building the best relation with our client and giving them and serve the clients as usual.
Fantastic, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands up for our panel, Abdullah, Stephen, Bassel, and Sheikh Abdul Rahman. Thank you once again for joining us. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take the opportunity to network further, and I hope you enjoy your time here at the Qatar Pavilion. And Invest Qatar, thank you so much.